Cletus says, "What's up, Tony? VIP Delaware. It's getting cold here, around 60s. You think medium reducer will allow metallics to lay out nice still? I'm used to slow. Yeah, if you're painting in 60-degree weather, you have time. Medium is going to be perfectly fine for you, especially with base coat. All right. Clear coat, you could still go with slow, or you could even go with medium because it's chillier out. You know, it's not going to dry and set up as fast. So you're good, man. Arkansas, I've been having trouble with guns for flake always plugging up. I'm doing small parts for a while. So let me ask you a question, Scott. What tip size are you blowing out? What are you using? 1.2, 3, 4, 1.8, 2.0? What size flake are you using? And also, I don't have a spray gun in here. I should bring a spray gun to keep in here. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I got a spray gun. But I don't have... All right, so this is a spray gun that I kind of have as a demo here. This is the Atom X88 Infinity. Make sure that you have your neck filter out. Sometimes people forget that they have a filter in here, you know, in between the cup and your neck filter here, and that plugs it up. So make sure this is out. Okay, 1.8. You're using a 1.8 tip. So yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be having any issues with a 1.8. It should be blowing out okay. I'm thinking maybe it's a filter issue. Maybe you're using a cup system with a filter in it. Make sure you can just cut that out. You don't want to run a filter when you're spraying flake. Okay, unless you're using like a micro sequence flake, it'll just go right through. But anytime I'm spraying flake, I like to take out my filters. So hopefully that helps. Or is this question here? Working on my fiberglass dually fender clear coat problem. What grit should I use to clean up the clear coat before respraying clear coat? So if you're just going to be respraying clear coat, if your base coat looks good, if everything looks good, but your clear coat got a couple of runs or it just didn't come out well, make sure you sand it down with 800 grit. Okay, make sure not to cut through to the base coat. Scuff it up, sand it with 800 grit. Try to take the most, of the imperfections out, and then you can just flow coat on top of that. 2 coats of clear coat, and you should be golden. All right. Clear coat will cover and fill 800 grit sand scratches on clear coat. Okay, so if you're respraying, you could go over 800. Okay, some people like to go 1,000. I feel like it's a little too fine, and you might have some flaking issues in the future. But with 800, you're not going to have any flaking issues. Is it best to go bare metal or primer backup? Okay. So it all depends on your paint condition. So, I'm not sure if that's a original color, original paint job you have on that thing. But if you have a lot of fading, that's through the clear coat, through the base coat, you got some metal showing, and you got surface rust and things like that. You don't always have to go to metal, unless you're working on a real old car, 1960s, 50s, 40s. That's when I would really go down to metal. You could with your car, if you really want to start from scratch, you could go metal, do an epoxy primer, and then a 2K filler primer on top of that, then cut that flat, and you could put base coat clear coat on top of that, or you could put a single stage on top of that, or if you want to go the extra mile, you could put a sealer on it first, then do your paint on top of that. So it's all between, it's personal preference between your budget and how much time you want to put into it, how much money you want to put into it, how much time you want to put into it. If it's all like unlimited and you want to do the best job, then yeah, go down to metal, epoxy prime it, 2K filler prime it, cut that down, take all the imperfections off, do your glaze putty work, your body work, whatever you got to do, get that flat, right? And then you seal it and paint it. But 2K filler primer is a good foundation to put any type of paint right on top of that. Okay, any type of 2K filler primer. All right, so that could be a finishing foundation to where you put your single stage on it or your base coat, clear coat. Does that help? Let me know. Kevin Smith says he clear coats over 400. To me, that's too. I don't go over that. 400 grit for me is to do new paint jobs. So I get all my primer work done, my everything done 400 grit, and I do my base coat, clear coat on top of that. And then for flow coating, I do 800 grit. So 400 just seems too coarse for me. And I've never really heard of guys using 400. So if that's, if you're going 400, be careful you don't cut through, because that's going to cut through a lot quicker than 8. So yeah. What is your approach on taking dirt nibs off brother? So you could just use they got like mini blocks that you can use. There's little tools sanding tools that you can use, put out, 1500 grit, 1200 grit, go over it. And then you want to take it down to like a 2000 grit and buff it out. Okay. Sometimes you can just get like a razor blade and scrape it, but you're still going to have to sand it. Okay. And you can buff over 1500 grit to 2500 grit. I like to get my clear coat down for any type of runs, nibs, little dirt flakes or bugs. I like to start with 1200. You could cheat with a DA, orbital sander, 1200 grit, get it down, get all the orange peel, the paint texture off. Then I like to finish it by hand with 2000 grit, get it nice and smooth, and then buff it out. And that's pretty much the way I do things. Guys, if you're totally new here, I'm going to welcome you to a page where you can grab some free Autobody training at learnautobodyandpaint.com. At the top of the page, just put your name and email in, and I'll send you the free guide as well as some video trainings at the link. Are you using waterborne? Not much. What's the best brand paint to paint with, PPG or DuPont? Either or, they're both good brands, and I've painted with both for years. But more recently, I've been using PPG. And you can use a Shopline version of that, which is a cheaper version. Doug Fox, sanding base coat due to orange peel. What grit is good before applying pearl? Well, you're not supposed to get orange peel in base coat. I'm not sure why. Hopefully you might need to make sure you check your mixing ratios. But if you're sanding base coat, you're going to want to reshoot base coat on top of that. Okay. And then if you're applying pearl, it means you're doing a tri-stage. I'm thinking you got your base coat, your pearl mid coat, and then your clear coat, right? So you're not supposed to sand your base coat and then put a pearl on top of that. You're not supposed to do that, but you can. Okay. It's not recommended. Let me know how it comes out, because I've never sanded base coat and then put a mid coat on it. Usually, normally you're going to be spraying your base coat, have it flow out nice. You're going to mix up your mid coat, which I'm assuming you're doing a tri-stage. You're going to spray that, let that flash. Then you're going to put your clear coat on top of that. So if I were you, I would sand that orange peel. I don't know how bad it is, because, base coats do have a light texture to it. Sometimes you're going to get a light orange peel, but when you clear coat it, it normally takes care of it and flows it out. If you put 2 heavy coats of clear coat, it actually disappears. But I don't know. I can't see what you're working on. I don't know how bad it is. So, maybe you might want to get it flat, maybe add a little bit more reducer to your base coat so you can get a better flow out. Make sure that lays on flat, and then you put your clear coat on top of that. What's a good spray gun? Mid spray gun? Honestly, I would definitely look into the X27. Check out Zula.com and check out the X27 or the X88. And when you get any of those Atomex spray guns, you can get a free Gun Bud Ultra lighting system. So I'm going to go ahead and post a link over here. These are all the guns. These are the guns that I spray with personally at my shop, and we do all of our projects. The X27 is a great spray gun. for only, what are they at now? $350, and you get the $60 light system included. If you're using a smaller air compressor, I would go with the low volume, low pressure. But low volume, low pressures are great for spraying base coat and clear coat. If you have a larger compressor and you want to get good metallic layout, use a high volume, low pressure. Okay, but you could spray base coat or clear coat with either or. But if you're having a smaller air compressor, I would recommend the low volume, low pressure. Okay, larger air compressor, 60 gallon and above, 5-6 horsepower, 15, 18 CFM constant. You could use the high volume, low pressure. Okay, so check those guns out. Great guns. The new Canon California. I think it's pretty much the same. I'm not sure what type of paint you're getting, but we have all the major brands here. Sherman-Williams. Sometimes I order on eBay. I'll get like House of Color products off of eBay, candies. Sometimes they're clear coats and whatnot off of eBay, and I get it shipped over, no problem. So eBay is a good place to get some paint too. When replacing a rusty rocker panel, do I sandblast epoxy prime the back side of the rocker panel and then weld it in? No, nope. Unless you can get to it after your welding is finished, you usually normally keep it bare. Okay, and yes, a hot surface will make it orange peel because it's drying up super quickly, especially if you lay it on thick. But if you're laying it on thin, even a hot surface won't give you orange peel. So, if you can get to the back of that panel after you weld it in, I would actually put some rubberized undercoating on it. It's going to be better than primer. Rubberized undercoating. Okay. It's like an undercoating that comes in an aerosol can. You could just spray the back of that whole area and it'll seal it from the moisture. Okay. Priming is not really a sealer. You're going to have to put some sort of rubber paint on that. That's what I'm saying. A rubberized undercoating, maybe some Plasti Dip spray, Raptor liner, that type of stuff. Primer is not a sealer. Primer actually absorbs water. Air compressor all around to stay consistent. So, if you're going to be painting a complete car, you're going to want something with pretty good volume. I would definitely pick up like a 60-gallon air compressor. Anything between 4 to 6 horsepower, that pumps out 16 to 20 SCFM. Okay. At 70 pounds, 60, 70 pounds, give or take, because you're not using that much. You're mainly painting at 25 to 30 pounds. That's pretty much the size that you want. As far as brands, man, there's so many brands out there. I got an old compressor that works really well, and then I got a Cobalt compressor. They come, they're all private labeled, so they're coming from the same factory with different names on them. If you want to go a brand name, get a DeWalt. Quincy's a good expensive, it's a good brand but expensive. So yeah. Have you used the Fuji? Have not, but I know a couple VIP members who have used them and they don't like them. And they break down. So I'm not really into the turbine systems. I just like my old, air compressor with some good air volume, and you don't have to worry about it. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Peace. Don't forget to check the links down below or over here if you're watching a replay, and I'll talk to you soon.